So my question to you is, do you actually want to be in a relationship, or do you want others to see that you are in a relationship? I remember wondering, when I was single, like, ugh, like, how is it even going to happen? Like, will it happen? Like, who will they be? How will they show up? Like, how would I be ready? Like, they're going to come and know me? Oh my God. Like, you start to really panic and start wondering, like, what if I'm awkward? What if it's awkward when I meet this person? Really, when I think about even the journey towards meeting my husband, I was so riddled with like the fear of uncertainty, because this is something that I hadn't done before. I was 25 when I met him, and I hadn't really dated that much. And I just was like, ugh, how is this going to all work out? But just like anything in life, you have to start somewhere. It is so normal to have not dated. It is so normal to have not found your partner. Let's normalize not being coupled up. And one thing that we need to realize is that your high school sweetheart may not be so sweet.
I love you. I'm your Ginny. Right. And you're my Marcus, and so you wouldn't hurt me like this, right?
I don't want to keep hurting.
So here's the thing. By your teenage years, with hormones raging and going really crazy, we're all surrounded by this idea that everyone should be finding their one true love, be finding their soulmate, be finding the one that is meant for them. But if you haven't entered into the dating scene yet, that doesn't mean anything is actually wrong with you. It's actually a gift, because you have so much time to really discover who you are and really be observant of what relationships entail, and understanding yourself without the pressures of having to perform and be in a dynamic with somebody else. Take it from science. Like, your prefrontal cortex hasn't really formed until you're about 25. So what do you really know about yourself? What do you really know about yourself in those earlier years? And I think a lot of the secondary school and the school experience is centered around finding your kindred spirit and being desirable, and who likes who and who's dating who, that we think that this is everything. Being in a relationship is everything, that this is the centerpiece of our life. Now, we are made for connection. We are made to exist in community. We are made for to be social creatures. So yes, there's an element of wanting to be desired that is totally normal. But I don't just want to be desired for being desired's sake. I want to be desired for who I am. And the process of actually discovering who you are is something that takes time. Hence why divorce statistics make it very clear that the earlier that you get married, the quicker and the more likely you are to divorce. Statistics have shown that young marriages tend to fail. Why? Because most people haven't fully uncovered who they are, yet alone commit to someone on a journey where they're like evolving. Like, who am I? What do I really like? What is my purpose here? And as you are growing, and you'll find that it's particularly in your mid-20s, you enter into such a steep learning curve about yourself that you've outgrown the version of yourself that met this person, who could have just been in your life because of your traumas, because there was a familial experience that you shared at a specific season of your life, but it's no longer core to who you are. And now that you've evolved and grown, there is nothing that draws you together. There's no core values that you hold together to keep you along the journey. So what is more important? Actually, what's more important is that you are using this time to really uncover who you actually are. Being curious, taking inventory of your life. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I actually like about myself? You have such an incredible opportunity in the stage of your life to do what most people aren't doing because they are afraid of being alone. Forming a relationship with yourself. Be curious about yourself. Identify what your true and core values are. What matters to you? What lights you up? Think of this as a journey of self-discovery, of self-uncovery. Only after we start separating from our parents' expectations of us, do we come into a space where we are able to be cognizant of, wait, outside of this paradigm, outside of my family of origin, as I exist as an individual, who am I? Too often we are rushed into bonds and into connections and into relationships with peers or romantic partners because we are hardwired through survival to look for security and validation, but without taking the time to really discover who we are. We risk fixating on relationships as a way to define ourselves. So my question to you is, do you actually want to be in a relationship, or do you want others to see that you are in a relationship? We all fall victim to social benchmarking, right? It helps us have a clue and gauge as to where we are in life. So we practice and we measure our success to what everybody else is doing and the standards of what everybody else says that we ought to be doing. And people have historically benchmarked relationships and marriage in particular based on societal expectations, often viewing singleness and marriages as markers of status, success, and of desirability. In the Regency era, as we see in Bridgerton, finding a suitor was a public affair. Parents and society would pressure individuals, especially women, particularly the women because of patriarchy, to marry well for status and security. Over time, culture norms have shifted this, but marriage remains such a strong benchmark. Like, actually being in a committed relationship becomes such a strong benchmark for, are you like a mature individual? And no one even talks about this. Like, this whole concept of you being in a committed relationship, you being married, and that being a status of your maturity and your sense of responsibility and your respectability. The respectability politics that comes in marriage is no joke. The moment you enter into, oh, I'm a married woman, oh, I'm a married man, now people perceive you to be a more serious and more sure individual. And so this amplifies, particularly with social media, this amplifies this comparison based on age and where we are and what we should be doing, reinforcing the idea that like singleness or being uncoupled is something to fix rather than just a valid place to be in life because this is where I am, or as a response to the fact that like I haven't found someone yet and I'm desiring not to being in a relationship just for being in a relationship's sake. What do you do when you do realize like, okay, I've been unpacking myself and I am learning myself? What do you do when you realize that you do have a desire for love and companionship? Because not everybody has a desire to be coupled, but what do you do when you hit your mid-20s or your late 20s and you realize, actually, this is something that I do value and I want to prioritize in this season of my life, and I long for connection and intimacy and to have a monogamous relationship with another person? Own it. Being a secret lover girl or being a secret lover boy is not a thing. Like, it's not cute. At this age, you've got to own it. As you are doing the work of uncovering who you are, a part of that process is to begin to engage with your authentic self. Because being a secret lover girl or being a secret lover boy, you are serving avoidance. You are serving, oh, this doesn't matter to me. So you are going to be dishing out avoidance. Now, fear is a spirit. And it attracts the very thing that you fear. So you desire the depth of love. You desire loads of intimacy and connection and to have a really fulfilling relationship. But you are existing in the fear of like, oh, I don't really want to put myself out there, or I'm afraid, or, I don't want to be too out there, whatever the fear may be. Well, you're going to get crumbs if you're putting out crumbs. That's just a harsh reality. And so a part of being single and trying to navigate this space in your 20s, like particularly if you've never ever dated before, is becoming and living the life that you love. Becoming and living the life that you love is what is key to actually opening up the doors to the wells of love in the various streams that they can come in. The idea that your soulmate is the key to contentment is so false. Break that idea out of your mind ASAP. The shortcut to lifelong satisfaction does not come from finding a person to be with. And I think sometimes when you've never dated, because you haven't experienced that sense of intimacy romantically, we create these fairy tales, we create these narratives in our mind that are so flawed and so skewed and are filtered through the lens of Disney that we think that this if we do land this relationship, it's going to be the very thing that's going to take us into eternal glory and peace and joy. But that is something that is solely reserved for God. Like, no human being has the capacity to be the ultimate fulfillment in your life. It's just not possible. And you hand down so much power to this fantasy person who really does not exist. Take it from me, your 20s are such a defining decade. Like, it's a time to really align with who you truly are, discover your gifts and talents, and understand the purpose that you have here on this earth. That love is something that is ever flowing in your life. You're existing in abundance, and through living in an authentic space, you are connecting and doing and serving, and it's just in and out, love everywhere. So I want you to ask these questions. Before entering into a relationship, it's crucial to ask yourself this. Am I confident in who I am? What are my strengths and weaknesses? And what are my areas for development? Have I built a life I genuinely enjoy? And am I seeking a partner out of fulfillment or fear of being alone? Do I really love myself? Like, do I like me? And when I say that, it's not just something that's passive. When you're talking about self-love, you're talking about the discipline. Do you have the discipline to show up for yourself? To do the very things that make you afraid, but saying that because of the purpose and the vision that I have for my life, I'm going to step out and do it anyway. Too often people chase relationships hoping that love will complete them rather than first cultivating a wholeness within themselves, rather than being the wellspring of love. Confidence, self-mastery, and strong relationships, friendships particularly, and living in community is paramount in this time, because you learn how to do relationships well when you are such a good friend, when you are such a good sister, when you are so good and loyal to the vision and the purposes that you have for your own life. And when you immerse yourself in the things that are like totally, like, that you're passionate about, that you care about, that are meaningful to you, that truly matter to you, you start to attract like-minded people. If you have hobbies and interests and you are committed to those and you're going into those communities, you're going to find like-minded people. But if you're sitting around waiting for someone to show up to to create an experience for you, ain't gonna look great. Finding a partner isn't about waiting for love to happen. Okay? It's about living fully and allowing meaningful connections to unfold along the way on the path of your purpose, on the path of you doing what brings you joy, on the path of making the strides towards career success or being a great person in your community or serving within your church or whatever it is that brings purpose and joy to you. After all, like, it's so much better to live and do life and date people who have lived an interesting life. And it's as you enter into adulthood and you start dating and you're cultivating a life that is so interesting to you, you have so much to share. You have so much confidence in your communication about your life's experiences. And I think I had, before dating my husband, I had like traveled to Indonesia. I taught English in Indonesia. I'd lived in Singapore. I'd done so many amazing things. I had danced in the Olympics. I was a dancer. I just did a bunch of stuff. I was leading my youth group at church. And so I have lived this really rich life. And he found me so interesting and intriguing. And it invited really good conversations because he'd seen that actually I hadn't sat here twiddling my fingers hoping someone was coming to save me. I was actually living my big, bad life. I was actually living a really good life. And the beauty is that a person now comes to add to your joy, and you merge and you connect in a way that has purpose, because relationships really and truly have to have purpose. Particularly if there's an intent for marriage, they have to have purpose. And when you haven't really discovered that yourself, how are you going to bring someone along on that journey? So instead of stressing about you never having dated, it being awkward, actually maximize the season. Become confident in yourself. Everything is going to be awkward the first time. But trust me, you will get over it. And you will be able to feel that sense of confidence when you are coming in from a place of fulfillment in your own life, as opposed to a desperation to be seen and loved. So if you've never dated before, embrace it. Like, just embrace it. Like, hey, I'm single, I've never dated. Embrace the fact that you've never dated someone before. It's okay. It's cool. We've all had our firsts. And it's a unique opportunity to really grow and to set the foundations for a healthy relationship. Because ultimately, your template is kind of your romantic template. The slate is clean. You're not riddled with all the trauma from little boys and little girls who didn't know anything about themselves and were just thinking about themselves when they were dating each other and cheating on each other and doing all kinds of weird things. You now have a heart that's actually more receptive to receive and to give love. And if there's like those feelings of fear around, like, I don't think people fear love. I think people fear just the awkwardness of entering into novel territories. And that's fair. It's okay. So take this time to be the person that you would want to date. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you're on a journey of self-discovery or if this message resonated with you at all, subscribe for more insights on embracing who you are and finding your purpose.